Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Frenzy Extra, our final one of this 2017 season. Coming to you from our studio this week as we get set for the state semifinals. And let's take a look at the big matchups we'll be following for you coming up on Saturday from Westfield State in Division 8, 11 a.m. Neshoba Tech coming off their first ever Central Mass Championship, taking on the Hurricanes of Hoosick Valley. In Division 5, Nipmuc, they're the Central Mass champs, 2 p.m. game against West Springfield. They're only about twice the size of Nipmuc, but they're in the same division. So what do you know? The Warriors will try to make a bid to get past this round and into that state final game. At Commerce Bank Field in Worcester, Division 7, 11 a.m., Blackstone Valley Tech takes on Waucona. Didn't Waucona play Shepherd Hill a couple years ago? That's 11 a.m. Arch doesn't care. Blackstone Valley Tech, the Beavers coming off the Central Mass Championship. And in Division 3, 2 p.m., St. John's taking on Springfield Central, a team St. John's beat earlier this season. Let's start in Division 8. Let's start with the Vikings of Neshoba Tech. A big win over Bartlett in the Central Mass Championship game. And so now the Vikings, with their first ever Central Mass Championship, going to the state semifinals. And it was an emotional win for Neshoba Tech. They were 2-9 a season ago. They've come a long, long way, and it wasn't lost on their quarterback, who wore his emotions on his sleeve in the postgame.
Last year we were 2-9. Coming in the summer and being Adam, we're always talking about just having a winning record. We never thought we'd be here, and everyone doubts us, but we keep believing in ourselves, and we stick together, and we get through everything together. We went from 2-9 and to no one. We were no one. Yeah! We work every day in practice. We say bring it in practice, and it shows up in the game, and this year it has.
All right, from the emotion of Neshoba Tech to back-to-back Central Mass championships for the Nipmuc Warriors. They took on Auburn. They beat Auburn after giving up the first touchdown in the game. The Warriors were awesome. Defensively, offensively, a complete team win. And so now Nipmuc heads to the state semifinals with momentum, looking to take the next step.
As far as us, we started off a little weird, a little sluggish on defense. We gave up a big play. We got a little herky-jerky, made some mistakes. They had some open receivers. And then all of a sudden around like the second quarter, we settled down and played really, really good football. And my quarterback, who takes a lot of grief from me, really had a great game, and he's one of the best kids in the world. We call him Happy Days because he's like, you know, something out of the 50s. He's just a great kid. But as far as the program goes, I don't know what all that means. I mean, it's Central Mass. We've won 2 years in a row. I couldn't be more elated with these kids. Win, lose, or draw. I love these kids. They work so hard, and you know, hey, you survive and advance, and we're advancing. We'll see what happens next week.
Well, it was about 17 years ago when James Archibald, now the head coach of Blackstone Valley Tech, was an offensive lineman and a standout at Northbridge High School. At that time, Northbridge was in the Super Bowl. They were playing Waucona out at Springfield College, and the Rams, they gave Waucona something they'd never seen before in a win for Northbridge. Now, head coach Arch with his Blackstone Valley Tech team takes on that same Waucona program, and Arch hoping to give them something they haven't seen before again as he takes the Beavers to the state semifinals.
I'll tell you, it's about time we re-won one of these. I think they might have run me out of town if we lost another one. This is the third one we've been in. It's a great feeling, and I can't say enough about Lester, man. That's a great football team. They battle. They're tough. They got size all over the place. You know, so to beat a team like that I hope it silences the critics that say we don't play anybody but the tech schools, because that's one that really has stuck with me the last couple of weeks when people say that. So just to come out and beat a quality opponent like that, I thought we held our own physically, made the plays when we had to. Just a great win for our kids. Very proud of our kids.
Well, as far as the Littleton Tigers go, it seems like they've always been in the playoffs or on their way to Gillette. But really, this senior class, they were freshmen the last time the Tigers went to a state final game at the home of the Patriots. Now those freshmen are players and playing a big role. So it's a totally new experience for head coach Mike Lynn and his Littleton Tigers.
We're pretty fortunate in Central Mass that this year rolls around. It's a bye, so we don't have to go out to the west to get there. So we've got a lot of time to prepare. We're going to play here Shirley on Thanksgiving. But as far as Gillette Stadium, it'd be an experience for some of these guys, especially the younger guys who haven't been there. I think our seniors were think they were there for one of the years or so. We were back there in 13 and 14. So not as players, but for them, it's pretty exciting to get there as players. So it'll be a pretty special day either way.
All of our games covered for you in the state semifinals edition of the Friday Night Football Frenzy. It comes to you Saturday night, 9 o'clock, a new time, 9 p.m. And we'll have all the highlights from the state semifinals right here on Charter TV3. Time for a quick break. When we come back, we go across the studio to Kevin Shea and Jim Wilson, and they've got a lot to talk about when the Central teams take on the West teams as we get ready for the state semifinals. Stay with us. Coming up on the state semifinals edition of the Friday Night Football Frenzy. In Division 3, St. John's faces the best of the West, Springfield Central. In Division 5, Nipmuc heads west. They take on West Springfield. In Division 7, Valley Tech looks for a trip to Gillette as the Beavers face Wacona. And in D8, Neshoba Tech battles the Hurricanes of Hoosick Valley. The Frenzy on Charter TV3. The Frenzy is presented by Bay State Savings Bank, the law offices of Joseph J. Cariglia, Worcester State University, and Unibank.
Welcome back, everyone. Kevin Shea with Jim Wilson, the sports editor for the Telegram and Gazette. We're talking Central Mass Super Bowls. It's like deja vu.
I was really,
We're talking
fired up all over again.
We're talking state semifinals as well. But for me, the Central Mass Super Bowls are number one. They're my favorite. And then you get into the state semis, and obviously playing at Gillette's a big thrill for the teams that make it there. But the Central Mass Super Bowls for me is what I love. And you and I talked about it last week. We had great games. We had some of them were rematches, some of them were first-time opponents. They all lived up to the expectations. It was a great Super Saturday in Central Mass.
Exactly. I mean, you have, Neshoba and Marlboro. I want to see them play every week. They were just, two evenly matched teams, went to overtime like you knew it would. You have games like the week before with St. John's and Doherty. It was a great game. It's great to have this. You're on a high right now because, like you said, Central, it's bragging rights in the neighborhood. Then you have the letdown where it's like, okay, now you have Minnetonka Central or, West Springfield. It's a necessary evil to get to Gillette. That's when it just ramps up all over again, and you're playing for a state title where the Patriots play, and you want to win the whole thing.
Right, and you talked about it, you and I, before, but a couple years ago when Doherty was playing, and Wes Welker came out of the tunnel to watch, and a couple of the Patriots came out, and that's huge. I mean, obviously, just to play on the field that the Patriots play on is big, but then when some of the players are sneaking out and you're pointing over there, and everyone feels 10 feet tall.
Now a couple of those guys are playing with those NFL players.
Yeah,
it's
that's
like
a good
Central Mass
point.
is legit now. So
it's crazy. Looking back at these Central Mass Super Bowls, St. John's and Shrewsbury, what we wanted, what we got. Credit to St. John's because they executed all three phases of the game really well. Their offense, defense, special teams. And again, we don't talk a ton about the offensive line at St. John's, but you and I do off camera. The offensive line deserves a ton of credit. We have not seen Steve Baccellia hurried, knockdown hit all season long. He can get back there. Quarterbacks have that internal clock. Sometimes it's a second and a half. Sometimes it's 2 seconds. It's 3 steps. He can get back there, open up his lunchbox, have a sandwich. He can have snacks. He can have dessert. He can have a 5-course meal because that's how well he's been protected this season.
He's like playing the Matrix where like the bullet time thing's going on. Everybody's going around him. He's like, okay, well, you're open. Okay, I got to give a couple steps on him. All right, I'll go to my check down receiver and get him there. He's fine. You never hear about him getting rushed, and that's the credit to the offensive line. So they've played some pretty good defenses this year.
Yeah, they have.
Not probably next week,
but yeah, they've played great defenses, and they've played teams that every week are game planning. How do we get to Baccellia? How can we put pressure on him? How can we make him throw early? How can we make him throw on the run? How can we make him uncomfortable back there? No one's been able to do it. And again, he's got great poise too, but it starts up front. That offensive line is awesome, and they have protected him. They've been the Secret Service. All year long, they've been the Secret Service protecting the president. And then, we talked about the receivers, and we always talk about the receivers, and Drew Gotch and Padoni. Brunel is another one who has come on. He's a sophomore. He's come on as the season's got going, and he's been a bigger player for them each and every week since probably about 6 weeks ago. He's a big, tall, strapping kid for a kid who's just a sophomore, 6'2" kid, 190, 185. He's making big catches. He's a physical receiver, too, so he gives them another dimension. As if they needed another weapon.
Yeah, exactly.
They have one right now with Brunel.
Especially when Oliver went down with that injury. It was no secret what they're going to do. They rely on the offense more for the air, and that's what happened. And guys like I said, Brunel come out. caught a dime last week, and we have the video on telegram.com. Just a beautiful pass from Buchalga, catches in stride, scores a touchdown. They need that kind of weapon for the next couple weeks.
Yeah, and Byers, one of the running backs who's taken up some of the slack with Oliver's absence. And, I mean, kind of lurking there in the distance, if they do make it to Gillette, and certainly St. John's will be favored to get there, don't be surprised if Peter Oliver is not healthy enough to go if they're at Gillette Stadium. And think about that. Think about getting a kid back that's 6'1", 210, runs a 4.38 40, Division I running back. You get him back.
Right.
It would be incredible.
St. John's knows a few doctors.
What they've done. They certainly do. They have a few doctors who played there who do things. But again, that victory over Shrewsbury was a great win for them. They go on to play Springfield Central now. It's a team that they played early in the season. They whipped them for a half. I mean, they absolutely whipped them for the first half. Then they kind of took their foot off the gas. Springfield came back. Springfield Central came back and made it a little closer game.
I'm all for rematches being, different. It's tough to beat a team twice in a year, all that rhetoric. But, I mean, this was one of those games, like you said, they're up 30 at the half. They really show unless they have Mark Chmura suiting up for them next week. I don't know if West Springfield or Central has a chance really against St. John's.
Right. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Now we move on to Division 4. The Neshoba Marlboro. You and I talked about this going in, and it certainly bears saying again, we would love watching these teams play each and every week. The first time they played in the regular season went into overtime. They play again in the Central Mass Super Bowl. It goes into overtime again, and it's a 2-point conversion is the difference. Incredible game. A credit to both coaching staffs, a credit to both teams because they both play a similar brand of football where it's physical, it's hard-nosed, they're going to come right at you. They'll pull linemen, do a little of the wing tee, try to get some misdirection going. Both quarterbacks can throw. It's the offense is multiple. So there's a lot that goes into that offensively to be able to do all those different things. The kids handle it well. The coaches handle it well. It's a great game.
Yeah, it's one of those teams. The teams know each other well. There's not going to be secrets. It wasn't like the Neshoba was going to all of a sudden come up with a bounce pass thing.
Right.
Try to, Alex Childs up the middle to win it. But ISO to Gillette.
ISO right to Gillette, which is a great call, by the way.
It was perfect.
Great call.
What it is.
We're going ISO right to Gillette, and they pounded in. And if you look at that run, he ran through a tackle.
Yep.
He was hit at about the 4-yard line, and he ran through the tackle to get into the end zone for the 2-point conversion and to get to Gillette. If he's tackled there, they could be still playing right now.
And I would love it.
You never know. But again, what they've done with Kyle Hume, too, playing both ways, Breeze Hill playing both ways, those are two guys that impact the game a lot on both offense and defense. It's one thing to have guys that are playing both ways, but their strong suit is offense or their strong suit's defense, and they're good on the other side of the ball, but they may not be the impact players. Breeze Hill, Hume, they are impact players on both sides.
Sam Belinsky doing a great job with throwing the ball. I mean, something that Neshoba's not really known for doing over the years. They've picked up a really dangerous passing game the last couple of years. So I think he's a big key of it, getting the job done. So you can't stack the box and stop that offensive rush because they can just toss it over.
Go back to Hal Gill, the days when Hal Gill was the quarterback.
Throwing a big interception.
Where they're throwing the ball. D5, Nipmuc and Auburn. Nipmuc, again, just impressive. And, every week, people, because of, I think, where Nipmuc is, they're kind of on the fringe in between. They're in Central Mass, but they're on that Eastern Mass fringe. People think, well, are they for real? Are they for real? They are for real. I mean, they beat Northbridge twice this season. They beat Auburn. The Auburn coaches said that's a good football team. Physical. They've got good size. They move well. They got receivers, too. Drew Nelson, Cam Busby are two kids that are tall. Again, these are impact players on both sides of the ball. They're safeties, and they're going to get one of them or two of them are going to get picks in every game. And then as wide receivers, you put them up there. If you're Nick Clark, and Nick Clark loves throwing to those two guys, they go up and get the ball. They're physical. They're not afraid of contact. This is a really good football team, top to bottom.
Right, and their coach Sean Hill said it last week. They finally put it together a complete game. We were talking last week, with Auburn coming up, they're dangerous. They have a good defense. Nipmuc really hadn't shown a lot in the last couple weeks. They've sort of scuffled against teams like Northbridge. They haven't dominated these teams, and when they did, there was they played a dual valley schedule. They kind of you wonder how tested they were, but they finally put it all together when it mattered. They just dominated from whistle to whistle against Auburn.
No, they were unbelievable. George Maurice, one of the running backs.
John Shalosky.
Yeah, tough. They run tough. You know what I mean? These kids, they run really tough. And that's the thing. Maurice is going to Bridgeton Academy next year. You're going to see him play college football somewhere, and he's going to be an impact player. And that's what you can't say enough about. And it's a mentality that comes down from Coach Hill to the rest of the team. We want to be physical. We want to be the type of team that runs through tackles. On defense, we want to hit you and knock you backwards. Clark was scrambling as a quarterback. They call him Happy Days because he looks, like he's out of the 1950s. He's got the baby face. He was scrambling, ran straight up the middle and drilled an Auburn safety and knocked him back about 3 yards. I mean, when your quarterback's doing that, the whole team's getting up. But that's that attitude that permeates through the whole team. We're physical. We're going to fly to the football. We're going to hit you, whether it's on offense or defense.
There's something in the water in that road between them and Valley Tech.
Yeah, you're right. You're right, because it's a similar mentality. And they have a bond. And all the kids talked about the bond that they have. This senior class especially, really close, really tight-knit. And team chemistry, it's, sometimes you have that debate, is it the chicken or the egg? If you win, everyone says they got great chemistry. When you're losing, people say, well, we're a fractured team. But I firmly believe in team chemistry. And when these kids are talking about how much they love each other and love playing for each other, you believe that bond is another big reason why they are so successful.
You just miss those pasta dinners on Thursday nights.
Oh, those are great. Those are great. But just hanging out with each other. You know what I mean? Even like all summer long, and this was the case. When you're hanging out with your buddies in the summer before the season and you're all thinking league titles, Super
one
Bowl,
goal.
But you just, whoever's driving around, there's always a football in the car. You're stopping in parking lots. You're stopping at the high school field just to throw and talk. It's that bonding time, and then getting the pizzas on Friday nights or Thursday nights and subs. It's awesome. But that camaraderie carries over. Because if you care about the guy next to you, you're going to play hurt. You're going to play a little harder than you would than if it's, one of those Yankees teams or the old Oakland A's where it's, 11 guys and 11 cabs. It's a different thing. Now, West Springfield. Here we go.
So buckle in, folks. Get comfortable.
So here's Nipmuc. 293 boys. So they're going to play the Western Mass representative, West Springfield, with 639 boys.
Who beat Longmeadow to get here.
Incredible. West Springfield, that would be in Division III if they played in Central Mass, and would not be the smallest team in Division III because they're bigger than Shepherd Hill. So they would be in Division III if they played here, are playing a Division V team, Nipmuc. It's not fair, not even close to fair. 293 boys versus 639, but it's what they have to do.
Do what you got to do to get to Gillette. That's the Western Mass mentality.
Shuffle the deck, as you said. They shuffle the deck in terms of what's our best road to Gillette.
I don't know how they do it. I want to see their magic trick. For all the gnashing of teeth in Central Mass, why is St. John's playing here? Why do we get moved here? They realigned. They appealed.
Right.
It's such a work in progress to get this thing done perfectly. Not even perfectly, but there's still some griping about where certain teams are in Central Mass.
Right.
I can't understand why Western Mass does what they do. How teams are sort of slotted in certain areas, and why this team ended up there. Like you said, Longmeadow could have easily won that game on Saturday.
Right.
But Longmeadow, the team I used to watch, Mario Johnson and Shrewsbury play.
Right.
Alex Roscoe is all they're playing Division V. How is that? Right. How's the MI look at that and say, oh, that's fine?
And how do they play Division I in every other sport?
I'm sure there's a reason. I'm sure there's a reason they give. It's my fault for not doing the research to look into it, how that has happened. Because I'm sure they gave some compelling arguments of why they have to have it this way.
Right. They're playing. West Springfield is playing Wachusett for the girls' Division I soccer state semis. They play Division I in every other sport, but then Division V.
You only put 11 on each side of the ball. I said that the same way.
You're right.
When Holy Name was doing their thing 10 years ago, and Pucko and all those guys and winning Super Bowls, everybody's saying how they do it with 20, 25 guys in the team. Right. They just find the right 11. So
and Coach Hill feels the same way, and this Nipmuc team feels the same way. They don't care. They're not into the numbers. They're not into anything else. We're going to line up and play, and we're going to represent Central Mass.
Trade some paint.
And we're going Gillette. So hats off to them. Division VI, St. Peter's and Littleton. Littleton wins this game 30-14. What we've talked about since the beginning of the season. Littleton was the favorite in this division.
Yeah.
They are everything you want in a football team. Their offensive line, all 5 guys returned from last year. So every guy on that offensive line came into this year with at least 1 year of starting experience. So you have at least 2-year starters on the offensive line. Some of them are 3-year starters. You have experience. So now they're making the line calls. You're not going to throw anything at them. You're not going to stunt defensively or shift or slant that they haven't seen before, and they can't communicate with each other. You know how crucial that is on the offensive line to have that communication. They have that.
Exactly. Like you said, Littleton, they had the target in their back all year. I think a lot of people said, whether it was schedule, are they tested? I think we said it a couple weeks ago with St. Peter Marion playing them. They played Doherty and things like that. They've been they've earned the right to be there. Let's see what Littleton does against these guys. It was closer than a lot of people thought, and I think St. Peter Marion had a good showing, but in the end, Littleton just had way too many weapons.
No, second half, Littleton just pulled away, right, and that's a credit to that offensive
Like we talk about every
line.
week, just getting hit every play, and it just wears you by the third, fourth quarter.
Right.
And next thing you know, you're not as quick to make that cut block, or you're not as quick to hit that linebacker on a pull. So I think they're just in Littleton was right there.
Trucks. Mitch Bowden. You look at the running backs. Mitch Bowden, Kevin Frisoli, Luke Elliott, Brad Clark. I mean,
they're like 5 guys that can handle in the backfield.
Pick your poison.
Right.
Pick your poison.
Rotate them in.
And you know you're not going to run against them. You look at their front seven defensively, and you say, you're not moving the ball against those front seven because they're that good. I mean, they're just...
You're hoping to make somebody miss and then just catch a seam and try to make a big play. You're not going to, West Boylston was a team that they played the toughest.
Took them to overtime.
Took them to overtime.
Double overtime.
Mike Ross has to credit that staff for doing that job again. But not many people could pick up that blueprint and do the same thing.
No way. All right, so they get a bye to Gillette. Littleton does. Division 7, Blackstone Valley Tech and Leicester, BVT and the Archie Express. They win 21-14, and this is a story of toughness. This is a story of overcoming adversity. They've had all kinds of injuries all season long, starting with their quarterback, Reese Hendricks, who has a metal rod in his shoulder because he broke his collarbone in mid-October. 3 weeks later, he's playing in the Central Mass Super Bowl, and he's running the football. He's running, lowering his shoulder, running the football, throwing touchdown passes, and that was such a key touchdown pass. Last play of the first half, they get a touchdown pass with no time left.
Griffiths protested. They were a cyborg playing for him now. It's like, how do you beat that? How do you beat the freaking Terminator coming at you? With playing a quarterback with a metal rod. I heard a lot of people in Valley Tech were concerned. After Reese went down, like, what do we do? And we talked about it because they just, they picked up right where they left off. Not a problem. They finished perfect in the regular season. Having them come back, like you said, we talked earlier about that emotional lift you get from that kind of thing. That's huge. To watch the guy you thought was, DOA a couple years ago, turn his equipment in, cheer you on from the Letterman jacket on the sideline the rest of the year. He comes into the locker room and says, all right, boys, let's go. He's in the huddle next to you saying, let's, put the women and children in bed and go looking for dinner. He's ready for you.
And they did it, and, and they held Padini in check. And
That's huge. Not
over the last, 6 weeks or 5 weeks of the season, no one's been able to hold him in check. Not since they played BVT earlier in the season. So a credit to that defense, too. And Matty Blood's the D coordinator there, another former Northbridge guy who won Super Bowls. They did a great job of keeping Kyle Padini in check.
A lot of onesies being bought from the Patriots Pro Shop in a couple weeks, I think.
So now you look at BVT and moving on in Division 7. And
Wacona.
They're going to get Wacona. Now, size-wise, this is not one of those ones that's way out of whack with the Western Mass. Actually, BVT's
but you look at the history of where Wacona's played.
Well, that's it, and that's the thing there. So, but, Jim Archibald has said, to his credit, he's always wanted to play up. He's always wanted to play bigger teams and always play up. That's just the way he is.
Frustrated with Cal for years, just the fact that you're locked in that schedule, and he's had that team. And who knows, maybe the last couple of years they had a team that could beat Littleton, because that's always been their roadblock in this game.
Right.
They've been in an alignment where they survive the Cal, they go perfect, and they have the mid-watch deal with Littleton, and that was that that monster they couldn't beat.
Yeah.
And they finally realign. Littleton gets out. And they finally show them they have a team that can get this far.
Connor Palomero, Sam Nero, they got some good players over there at BVT. Division 8, Neshoba Tech opening some eyes as they beat Bartlett. We only have 10 seconds left for this one. Vinny Aramo, the quarterback, did a great job, and they captured the Super Bowl.
Exactly. They played. So not a lot of teams. People knew a lot about them. I picked against them every week, and they proved me wrong. Good for them. Your Vikings, good luck. Vinny Ramos, legit. He's a great player. Let's see what they can do now.
All right. We're out of time. That's Jim Wilson. I'm Kevin Shea. More of the Frenzy Extra coming your way right after this.
Coming up on the state semifinals edition of the Friday Night Football Frenzy. In Division 3, St. John's faces the best of the West, Springfield Central. In Division 5, Nipmuc heads west. They take on West Springfield. In Division 7, Valley Tech looks for a trip to Gillette as the Beavers face Wacona. And in D8, Neshoba Tech battles the Hurricanes of Hoosick Valley. The Frenzy on Charter TV 3. The Frenzy is presented by Bay State Savings Bank, the law offices of Joseph J. Cariglia, Worcester State University, and Unibank. Welcome back. Assumption College lost their last regular season game, but they still hoisted the NE10 title because the Greyhounds have had an amazing season. So coming off a loss, Assumption finds themselves in the NCAA tournament and hosting a first-round game coming up this weekend. Bob Chesney's getting his guys refocused for a second season.
This is what you hope for at the beginning of every single year, to be 9-1, to win your conference, and to be walking into a home game here in the third time in 3 years that we're in the NCAAs. I think that's something to me that, just 5 years ago, when you think about that, when we first got here, was that something we thought would actually happen? I don't know if any of us thought that would be a reality, but for 3 years now to be consistent in doing it, something that I think, is a hats off to our school and our players and our coaches and just really everybody that's backed us from the beginning.
Just down the street from Assumption, WPI not so quietly having a great season, their best in decades over there. The Boynton Hillers looking strong, coming off a win over Norwich, and now they have a bid in a New England Bowl, a bowl that they will host. And as our Brenna Wilson tells us, the Engineers just gearing up for another big showdown.
The WPI Engineers are having their best season in 25 years.
Nobody prepares better than we do as a coaching staff, and the game plan they put into place is really great every single week, and then on the field we're really able to execute that game plan.
Just coming out every day, doing our best, everything we can to prepare for the games, and then in the games just executing the game plan and just really trying to do everything to get that win.
With their win against Norwich last week, the Engineers moved to 8-2 on the season. This is the most wins since 1992.
The program has increased in win totals each year, and they've really done a great job of really changing the culture and really working hard to create a championship culture here. And everybody in the program has bought into it, and you see the success on the field.
The Engineers finished second in the inaugural season of NEWMAC football, and while the conference is new, the opponents are familiar. And after this season, head coach Chris Robertson says the team is in a great position to grow.
It comes down to matchups, different matchups with different teams. But, for year one, we were very happy to come out, with just the one loss in the conference to Springfield, who's going on to represent the conference in the NCAA. So, overall a good first year, and I think something for us to build on for the future.
On Saturday, the Engineers host SUNY Maritime in the New England Bowl Series. For the seniors, this will be their second bowl appearance in 3 years. Hosting this game is a big deal for the program and the university.
Something to say about the team in general, the kind of season we're having. It's a great honor, tremendous honor.
It means a lot for the school, I think. We've only been in the postseason a handful of times, and to host one's pretty special.
The competition will be tough. Before the seniors, playing one more game in November is special.
It's an unbelievable experience and opportunity, and especially getting to play here one more time is unbelievable.
So blessed right now. I mean, 2 weeks ago we thought it was our last game on this field, and now we have one more opportunity.
One last game out here with the boys means a lot. I mean, it's going to get real emotional on Saturday, but hopefully we just leave everything on the field.
Brenna Wilson, the Frenzy Extra.
One of those guys who's come out of that program at St. Mark's, Aaron McLean, now a starring wide receiver at the University of Connecticut, has had a breakout season for the Huskies offensively this year, and they're going to play Boston College at Fenway Park coming up later this week. So for McLean, he is just starting to get his roll down at UConn and is having himself a lot of fun this year.
Offensive system that we have this year, it fits me more. I think it fits a lot of people better because we all have a job we can do. My job could be blocking, could be catching some games, but I think everybody has a role. I think that me having a role this year has really allowed me to excel. Coach Etzel really harps on us being accountable for your actions, and we get what we put in, and we're starting to, as you see, we won 2 games straight now. So we're starting to really understand that, and it's showing on the field. I like having my family around, having them be able to come to my game. So yeah, it's nice to see my mom before every game, and my parents and stuff. Going to St. Mark's, I think the main thing that helped me with coming to UConn, maybe not just football, but just in general, was the fact it's a strict school. You have to be on your stuff all the time, and time management skills definitely helped me, and being prepared for the college life, because now being a student athlete, you really don't have much time for yourself, so you have to learn how to manage that. So that's the part I think that definitely helped me. Everybody's going to be at that game, everybody from family, probably 30 people, so it's exciting to be back home, be able to play in front of my family, and hopefully get a win.
Here's a look at the Frenzy Alumni Dean's List, and Brandon Miller, give him the honor roll. He's on the Dean's List again. UMass Dartmouth, Wachusett kid, 8 tackles and a sack in a win over Fitchburg State. Dylan Woods out of North Middlesex making the Dean's List for the first time. Fitchburg State guy, 10 tackles to lead his team against UMass Dartmouth. Mike Quinn, he's a perennial contender on the Dean's List, the Northbridge guy. Worcester State, 13 tackles, leading the way for the Lancers in a loss against Framingham State. Well, that'll do it for this, the final edition of Frenzy Extra for the 2017 season. Thanks for tuning in all season long. For our producer-director, Sean Grady, I'm Andy Lacombe. We'll see you next time on the Frenzy Extra, but make sure you're with us this Saturday for the state semifinals edition of the Frenzy.